Hi, everyone. As we've reported at the Kingfisher on the Beyond the 90 site, Miami FC, in advance of tonight's derby match against the Tampa Bay Rowdies, have made a major swap deal with Indy 11 within the league. Two players moved there, two players that we've been very familiar with who've been with Miami FC, two of our only holdover players from last season, and two players come in. And I want to focus on specifically one player because this is sort of my responsibilities in soccer journalism and working in front offices, etc., coming full circle. Danny Barbir comes in from Indy 11. I guess he played the first few games this season for them, but I'm more familiar with him from Oakland previous few years. Very good player, left-footed center back, can play in a three-man back line, can play in a traditional four-man back line, gives Antonio Nocerino some flexibility in terms of getting potentially Samuel Beek, who has experience playing in midfield, into midfield, playing as a six. Dalton Knutson, we know, has played in midfield earlier in his career in USL League One and in college, can play as a six as well. Although I think more likely Knutson would, if you stay in a four-man back line, shifts to right center back. You play Barbir at left center back. And then Beek gives you other options, right? More options in the midfield. Or you can play in the three-man back lines. We talked about Oakland did that a fair amount last season. But Barbir is an interesting story because in 2015, there was a friendly at the Citrus Bowl between Orlando City and West Brom from England. They were a Premier League team at the time, coached by Tony Pulis, whose son had played for Orlando City, and whose son, of course, later coached Miami FC. So this is another interesting parallel, interesting coincidence in this story. But in fact, when looking for story angles for that particular match that were relevant, I was told there's this kid who's Cuban from Atlanta, who is in West Brom's academy, and in fact, they're going to give him a professional contract. And so I never wrote the story, but I got more information about it. That was Danny Barbir. He had just gone there. I think he had been in maybe in Manchester City's academy for a year or two prior to that. But it was really very, very interesting, and it was like, hey, here's a Florida storyline for you potentially. He's got Cuban parents, or I think one of his parents is Cuban. He's from the Southeast, and he's going to get a professional contract with West Brom. I was not aware of him until that moment, and have tracked his career since. He went to Germany for a little bit. But has been very good at Oakland. I felt, I thought he'd be good for Indy, but he may have been good in these first few games. Didn't stand out to me, but I think he's a huge addition for Miami FC, and a little bit of kind of full circle. 9 years later, he's coming to play here in South Florida, and when I was covering that Orlando West Brom game in the lead the day before, I was told about this kid, and you may want to check him out, and you may want to do something on him. So really interesting story. And by the way, that was a time when Orlando City, Phil Rollins was still involved with the club, and obviously Phil Rollins had been a board member at Stoke. So that's the connection to Tony Pulis and Anthony Pulis and some of the other Stoke influence at Orlando City. So anyway, kind of a cool story I wanted to tell everybody about as we get ready to see him in a Miami FC uniform, maybe as soon as tonight against Tampa Bay.